There are wounds that don't bleed, bruises that no one can see, and sometimes the deepest pain comes from hearing your own blood speak to you like you're nobody. My name is Thomas Red. I'm 71 years old. And until a few months ago, I believed I had lost everything that mattered. My son, my daughter-in-law, and the grandchildren I once dreamed of spoiling every weekend. I wasn't estranged because of something I did. I was erased. Quietly, slowly, intentionally. I was rewritten as a villain in a story where I once played the loving father and gentle grandfather. My son Eric married a woman named Sabrina 10 years ago, a woman I welcomed with open arms, helped through college, supported emotionally, and even lent money to when they were struggling. But once the ring was on her finger, something inside her changed. She became territorial, controlling, and strangely threatened by the bond I shared with my son and especially my grandkids. At first, it was little things, criticizing the snacks I brought, saying I spoiled the kids, acting annoyed when they ran into my arms, rolling her eyes whenever Eric and I shared old family memories. But eventually, she escalated. She began limiting visits, controlling schedules, and whispering to Eric that I was too involved, overstepping, or making the kids hyper. What I didn't realize was that while she was cutting ties, she was also rewriting my identity in the minds of my grandchildren. Months passed. Calls were ignored. Messages unread. Birthdays forgotten, not by me but by them, because they never got my gifts or heard the voicemails I left. Then, one afternoon, I ran into them by accident at a park near my home. My heart nearly burst when I saw them, Lily and Jonah, playing on the swings, their little faces glowing with joy. I approached slowly, gently, with a smile, trying not to overwhelm them. But before I could even open my mouth, Jonah looked at me with wide, confused eyes and asked, "Mom said we shouldn't talk to strangers, stranger." A word so small and so sharp it sliced through me. I stumbled back, trying to hide the heartbreak cracking inside my chest. They didn't run to me. They didn't smile. They didn't even recognize me. I whispered, I'm your grandpa. But Lily shook her head and said softly, "Mom said we don't have a grandpa." Those words buried me alive. I didn't want to make a scene. I didn't want to scare them. So I smiled weakly, waved, and walked away with my heart dragging behind me. That night I cried harder than I had in years, the kind of cry that doesn't make noise, the kind that empties you. The next morning, everything changed. I decided I wasn't going to let myself be erased. I wasn't going to die as a stranger to the only grandchildren I had. But I needed to be smart, because confronting Sabrina directly would only make things worse. So I called someone I trusted, my lawyer and longtime friend Marcus, who had watched this situation unravel for years. I told him everything, especially what the kids said, and he sighed heavily before saying, "Thomas, this is parental alienation. You have rights. And you have proof. We can fight this." For the first time in months, I felt a spark of hope, but before the legal process even began, something unexpected happened. A few weeks later, I received a call from my son. His voice was shaky, uncertain, and full of guilt. "Dad," he whispered, "can we talk?" I wanted to yell, to blame, to ask him why he let this happen, but I stayed calm and told him to come over. The moment he walked in, I could see the conflict tearing him apart. He sat on my couch, hands trembling, and said, "I didn't know she was telling the kids those things. I didn't know she was blocking your messages. I only found out because Lily asked me yesterday why she didn't have a grandpa." His voice cracked, and he buried his face in his hands. "Dad, I'm so sorry." I didn't comfort him right away. I needed answers. "Why didn't you notice something was wrong?" I asked quietly. He looked up with red eyes and said, "Because whenever I mentioned you, she'd start a fight. She'd say you didn't like her, that you judged her, that you made her uncomfortable. I didn't want to upset her, so I avoided the topic. I didn't realize how far she'd gone." I let his words sink into the heavy silence. Then I said, "Eric, you let her erase me." He didn't argue. He didn't defend her. He just nodded and whispered, "I know." We decided right then that the kids needed to know the truth, gently, carefully, with kindness instead of conflict. But Sabrina didn't like that plan. When Eric told her he wanted to bring the kids to see me, she exploded. She accused him of betrayal, manipulated him with tears, and even threatened to leave. For the first time in 10 years, my son didn't back down. He told her they deserve to know their grandfather, and I'm taking them whether you agree or not. She didn't speak to him for 2 days. Finally, the day came. I spent the entire morning pacing, cleaning, checking the snacks, arranging old photos, anything to calm myself. When the car pulled up, my heart felt like it might burst out of my chest. The kids stepped out hesitantly, holding Eric's hands. They looked around my porch like they were entering a museum. When they reached the door, Jonah asked softly, "Dad, is this safe?" Safe. That word hurt almost as badly as stranger. I knelt down to their level, forcing my voice to stay steady as I said, "Hi, I'm your grandpa. But you can call me Tom if you want. We can go slow." They didn't rush into my arms. They didn't giggle or smile like they used to years ago. They just stared at me, confused, studying my face like they were trying to match a memory that was snatched away from them. Inside the house, I showed them pictures, photos of them as babies in my arms, photos of their birthdays, photos of Christmas mornings, photos of us at the zoo, the park, the backyard. At first, they looked at them silently. Then Lily whispered, "That's me?" I nodded. "That's you. And that's Jonah, and that's the day you called me Grandpa Tommy for the first time." Jonah frowned. "But Mom said you didn't like us." That sentence hit me like a punch. I swallowed my pain and said softly, "I love you. I've always loved you." I never stopped. Silence. Then Lily asked, "Then why didn't you visit?" Her innocence cut sharper than any accusation. My voice shook as I explained. I tried. I sent messages. I sent gifts. I wanted to see you every week. But sometimes grown-ups make mistakes. And sometimes people say things that aren't true. They exchanged confused glances. Then slowly Lily walked toward me. She reached out and touched my hand gently, like she wasn't sure if I was real. "Did you really love us?" she whispered. Tears filled my eyes as I nodded. "More than anything." Her little face crumpled. She threw her arms around my neck and sobbed. Jonah joined seconds later, crying into my shoulder, repeating, "I didn't know. I didn't know." I held them tighter than I ever had in my life, my body shaking with the weight of months of loss, confusion, and grief. That moment, their tiny hands clinging to me, their tears soaking into my shirt, both healed me and broke me. Healed me because they remembered. Broke me because they had been lied to for so long, but the story didn't end there. Sabrina was furious when she found out the kids cried in my arms. She accused Eric of brainwashing them, threatened divorce, and even tried to file a complaint claiming I was emotionally manipulating the children. But she didn't expect one thing. My son finally stood up. He told her that the kids deserved love, honesty, and family, and he refused to let her isolate them anymore. Counseling was suggested. She refused. Mediation was suggested. She refused again. Eventually, Eric made the hardest decision of his life. He filed for separation, choosing his children's mental and emotional well-being over her control. Months passed. The kids now visit me every weekend. They run to me the way they used to when they were toddlers. They ask questions about old memories, about their father as a child, about things they finally want to remember. And every time they hug me, every time they laugh at my bad jokes, every time they fall asleep on my couch during movie night, I thank God they finally know the truth. And I pray they never forget it again. I didn't get my lost years back. I didn't erase the damage caused by lies. But I did get something far more meaningful. The chance to rebuild slowly, honestly, lovingly. The chance to no longer be a stranger in the eyes of the kids who carry my blood.